Good afternoon, everyone. So today is the day for which we will complete unit number 2. Very easy unit. Topic is consideration Indian Contract Act 1872. Before starting the unit formally, I think we should first understand the meaning of consideration. Consideration means something in return. Let's take an example. I asked Mr. X to purchase my car for 2 lakh rupees. He said, okay, sir, I am ready to purchase your car. Now, in this case, in this contract, I am giving my car and I am getting rupees 2 lakh. Mr. X is giving 2 lakh rupees and in return, he is getting the car. So for my point of view, consideration is 2 lakhs which I am getting in return for what I am giving. And for the point of view of Mr. X, consideration is car for which he is giving 2 lakh rupees and he is getting return car. So car is the consideration for Mr. X. Okay. Second thing, important thing, the question may arise on this small line what I am giving to you, that consideration must be there. If consideration is not there, contract is void. Any contract without consideration is void. But consideration should be of equal value. This is not in law. Law says there must be consideration. There must be consideration, but same value का हो ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. So for which value of car, a consideration for car may be for 2,000 rupees, maybe 1,000 rupees, need not to be adequate or same value. So let's start the topic consideration. First, we should understand the definition. Definition, what is consideration? We will allow in the last 25 minutes to ask the queries. We will allow to unmute for the queries. Till time you can mention your query in chat box only, right? Consideration means something in return. In Latin language, it is called quid pro quo. Quid pro quo. Quid pro quo. Section 2D provides, Section 2 clause D provides, when at the desire of promiser, the promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing something, such act or abstinence or promise is called consideration. So when we will talk about the legal rules or essentials for the consideration, this definition is worth. At the desire of promiser, promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing something, act or abstinence or promise is called consideration. So we will discuss the definition detail one by one, but I am just requesting you everyone to please give 10 seconds on this definition. एक बार read कर लीजिए ध्यान से. अभी जितने पॉइंट्स है ना वो एक एक करके डिस्कस करेंगे. अभी वेट कीजिए, ठीक है ना. अभी एक एक करके चल रहा हूँ. In a case of Misa versus Curie, consideration is the price agreed to be paid by the promisee for the obligation of promiser. यानी consideration is the payment for which the promiser is obliged to pay. कोई promiser जो आपको सेवा दे रहा है या कुछ चीजें दे रहा है उसके बदले में जो मिला consideration होता है. The word consideration was described in a very popular English case of Misa versus Curie. A valuable consideration in the sense of law may consist either in some right, interest, profit or benefit accruing to one party, that is promiser, or forbearances determinant, loss or responsibility given, suffered or undertaken by the. एक प्रॉमिस के बदले में दूसरा, एक कोई काम कर रहा है उसके वो किसके बदले में काम कर रहा है, दैट इज कंसिडरेशन. Now come on the analysis of definition. Consideration may be act for doing something, कुछ करने के लिए. Consideration कुछ करने के लिए हो सकता है, for act. A guarantee B for the payment of price which we wanted to sell to 1 month credit to C. Here selling of goods on credit by B to C is the consideration for A. क्या कहा मैंने? A ने गारंटी दी B को कि आप C को गुड्स बेच दो, आप C को गुड्स बेच दो, अगर C पेमेंट नहीं करेगा तो मैं पेमेंट करूँ. A guarantees B for the payment of the price of goods which B wanted to sell on 1 month credit to C. Now the selling of the goods on credit. Now the selling of goods on credit by B to C is the consideration for A's promise. Is the consideration for A's. One more example. A college promises a student for the job in MNC who will score above 95%. College ने promise किया है students को. Announcement नहीं है, promise किया है कि the students who will get above 95%, we will provide the job in the MNCs. Here the promise is considered as consideration for the act of students scoring above 95%. पढ़िए फटाफट से इसको. Consideration may be an abstinence or forbearances. Abstinence or forbearances, not to do something. Consideration may be in the form of act, in the form of abstinence. कुछ नहीं करना भी. See the example. C promises his debtor D not to file a suit against him if he agrees to pay 10,000 more on the principal amount. C promised debtor D not to file a suit against him if he agrees to pay 10,000 more on the principal amount. C ने प्रॉमिस किया D से कि वो 10,000 रुपए एक्स्ट्रा पे करेगा अगर D C के अगेंस्ट सूट फाइल नहीं करता है. सूट फाइल नहीं करता है. Here the abstinence of C is the consideration for D's promise to pay. कुछ नहीं करना इज abstinence. तो यहां पर क्या था एग्जाम्पल में, सी ने प्रॉमिस किया डी को कि भैया आप मेरे खिलाफ सूट फाइल मत करो, 10,000 रुपए दूंगा. 10,000 रुपए दिए जा रहे हैं. सी इज गिविंग 10,000 रुपीज एंड व्हाट ही इज गेटिंग रिटर्न, ही इज गेटिंग द नॉन फाइलिंग ऑफ सूट बाय राइट. रीड कीजिए. And consideration may be in form of written promise, promise against promise. A promises to maintain B's child and B promises to pay A rupees 1,000 yearly for this purpose. A is making the promise that he will maintain the B's child and B is giving in return the promise of payment of 1,000 yearly for such maintenance. So both are giving the promise in return of promise. So consideration may be in the form of act, consideration may be in the form of abstinence, and consideration may be in the form of written promise. Please read these examples actively. Example 3 and 4 are totally different example. Please read carefully. Next point. Now come to the legal rules regarding consideration. The legal rules are drafted from the definition itself. So recall the definition in your mind and see that we are discussing the legal rules that all are given in the definition. First, consideration must move at the desire of promise. An act done at the desire of third party is not a consideration. See the example. Are safe as good from fire without being asked to do so. R cannot demand any reward for his service as the act being done voluntarily. Listen, what is this point is going to say? Suppose there are two parties, A and B. A and B under the contract by which A sell a car to B for rupees 1 lakh. Mr. Third person, let's say C, says to B that you need not to pay 1 lakh. You need not to pay 1 lakh. You need to pay only 80,000. But in this case, C is the third party. Third party is stranger to contract. The consideration should be decided according to B. B is getting, listen, I am repeating the example. A and B enters into a contract by which A purchases the car of B for rupees 1 lakh. B has decided the price. Please come on the example. A and B agreed in the contract by which A will sell the car to B for rupees 1 lakh. The price is decided by A. Okay. C, a third party asked Mr. B that you need not to pay the price 1 lakh, you need to pay just 80,000. C is the third party, he cannot decide the consideration what B is getting. The consideration should be decided by the promisor, that is A. Law says third party cannot decide the consideration. एग्जाम्पल 5 में क्या था, एक बच्चे की प्रॉब्लम है कि सर एक बार समझ में नहीं आई बात, सुनो ध्यान से। एस के गुड्स में आग लग गई, एस ने आर को नहीं बोला मेरे गुड्स को बचाओ, लेकिन फिर भी आर ने उसको बचाया, तो क्या उससे कुछ कॉम्पनसेशन मांग सकता है आर? नहीं मांग सकता, क्योंकि आर ने अपनी मर्जी से किया था, एस के कहने से नहीं किया। प्लीज रीड दिस एग्जाम्पल। यहां हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं लॉ की बात, इमोशनल बात नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं कि सर उसने तो बचाया। एक बच्चा कह रहा है सर आग से तो बेचारे ने बचाया तो पैसे तो मिलने चाहिए। नहीं भैया, हम लॉ की बात कर रहे हैं। लॉ क्या कह रहा है उस पर फोकस कर, ना कि हमें अपने ऊपर इमोशनल अत्याचार नहीं चलना है। लॉ इमोशन से नहीं चलता है। सेकंड पॉइंट, अच्छा, वन मोर एग्जाम्पल ऑन दिस पॉइंट। The case was Durga Prasad versus Baldev, 1881. Please listen the case. Durga Prasad built shops at the request of collector authority. Durga Prasad, at the request of the collector, a government official, constructed certain shops in the market area. After construction, shopkeepers like Baldev occupied the shops and carried on the business in them. Since the defendant did not request the act, no contract existed. What is the case? Actually, there was a market, and in the market, some shopkeepers were there. But Durga Prasad, on the request of the collector, made the shop for these shopkeepers. And these shopkeepers occupied the shop, but they have never requested the Durga Prasad for building this shop. After the construction of shop, Durga Prasad demands the money consideration from shopkeepers. The shopkeepers like Baldev replied that, sir, we have never requested you to construct the shop for us. We were happy with their open markets. क्या केस था ये? क्या केस था कि एक मार्केट थी, मार्केट में बहुत सारे दुकान लगा के बैठे थे, अपने खुले में लगा के बैठे थे दुकानें। कलेक्टर ने दुर्गा प्रसाद को बोला, भैया दुकानें पक्की करा दो। दुर्गा प्रसाद ने पक्की दुकानें बना दी और शॉपकीपर्स उन दुकानों को ऑक्यूपाई कर ली। अब दुर्गा प्रसाद ने उनसे पैसे मांगे कि भैया मैंने आपकी दुकानें पक्की कराई हैं, ओपन में बैठे थे, आप पक्की दुकानें कराई हैं, अब मुझे पैसे चाहिए। कोर्ट ने कहा भैया आपको दुकानदारों ने नहीं कहा था, शॉपकीपर से नहीं कहा था बनाने के लिए, तो शॉपकीपर से आप पैसे नहीं मांग सकते। यू हैव नॉट वर्क एट द रिक्वेस्ट ऑफ प्रॉमिस, so you cannot demand. So what was decided in the court? The court held that consideration must move at the desire of promiser. The court had no contract existed, no payment was due to Durga Prasad. कि आपको कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ ही नहीं था शॉपकीपर से, तो आप कोई पेमेंट भी नहीं ले सकते, राइट? कुछ बच्चे इतने अच्छे हैं, पूरा केस लिख लिख के भेज रहे हैं, भैया आप इस पे ध्यान दीजिए, केस मुझे पता है, ठीक है ना, पढ़िए इसको, समझा दिया मैंने आपको बहुत अच्छे से। तो what was decided that Baldev and other shopkeeper did not request Durga Prasad to build the shop. Since the shopkeeper did not request the construction, there was no contract between Durga Prasad and the shopkeepers. So there is thus no valid consideration was provided by shopkeepers, and they were not liable to Durga Prasad. Right? एक बार पढ़ लीजिए बच्चों इसको। Next legal rule. Next rule is consideration. सर पिछले वाले एग्जाम्पल में आर एक्सपेंसेस मांग सकता है क्या? डिपेंड अपॉन द कोर्ट. इफ कोर्ट थिंक्स दे कैन गिव द कॉम्पनसेशन, बट एज पर लॉ दे आर नॉट अलाउड. राइटफुली कैन नॉट बी डिमांडेड. Sir, did the court put lights on the collector to pay the cost? There may be. Now, the second case, second rule, important case, Chinaya versus Ramaya. Chinaya versus Ramaya. This rule says consideration from promisee or any other person. Law says consideration must move at the desire of promiser, what we have discussed in rule number 1. But second rule says the consideration may move from the promisee or any other person. Means consideration may be paid by third person. Consideration may be paid by third person, but cannot be decided by the third person. Consideration may be paid by the third person. Consideration may proceed from the promisee or any other person who is not a party to the contract. In other words, there can be a stranger to consideration but not a stranger to contract. The famous case Chinaya versus Ramaya, listen, the case is the mother Chinaya transferred all her property to her daughter Ramaya with the condition the old lady gifted the property to her daughter on the condition that daughter pays a certain sum of money to her maternal uncle, the mama, by way of annuity. Annuity means annual payment. The same day, daughter executed the agreement in favor of the uncle for payment of annual payment, what was decided between the mother and the daughter. But on the time of payment, the daughter said on the time of payment, the daughter said that the agreement between me and my maternal uncle is void because I am giving the annual amount, but I am not getting anything in return. So my contract is without consideration. Contract is void. क्या बताया मैंने अभी तक सुनिए. एक ओल्ड लेडी ने अपनी सारी प्रॉपर्टी अपनी बेटी के नाम ट्रांसफर की, उन्हें गिफ्ट कर दी, इस कंडीशन के साथ कि बेटी हर साल एक पर्टिकुलर अमाउंट अपने मामा को देगी, अपने मामा को देगी. जिस दिन बेटी ने एग्रीमेंट किया कि हाँ ठीक है, मैं अपने मामा से एग्रीमेंट किया कि मैं आपको एक अमाउंट पे करूंगी, लेकिन जब पेमेंट करने की बारी आई, एक सेकंड ना फोन, जब पेमेंट करने की बारी आई तब क्या हुआ, एक सेकंड, एक मिनट बीच मुझे, एक मिनट के लिए पढ़िए इसको जरा केस को. हाँ जी. जब पेमेंट करने की बारी आई तो बेटी ने कहा कि मुझे बदले में क्या मिल रहा है, मैं तो पेमेंट कर दूंगी पर मुझे बदले में क्या मिल रहा है, तो मैं इसके लिए लायबिल नहीं हूं. मेरा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो गया, विदाउट कंसीडरेशन हो गया. मेरा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट विदाउट कंसीडरेशन हो गया, तो मैं पेमेंट करने के लायबिल नहीं. बट कोर्ट ने क्या कहा, कोर्ट सेड that it need not be required that consideration must be received by you from your uncle. What you got from your mother is the indirect consideration for the agreement between you and your uncle. कोर्ट ने कहा ये जरूरी नहीं है, ये जरूरी नहीं है कि कि कंसिडरेशन डायरेक्टली अंकल से आपके पास आए, आपकी मदर से जो आपकी प्रॉपर्टी आई वही इनडायरेक्ट कंसिडरेशन आपका माना जाएगा, वो सफिशिएंट कंसिडरेशन. So what court said? The court held that there was a sufficient consideration. Therefore, the uncle had the right to recover the annuity, that is the annual amount, from the daughter, despite not directly receiving anything from the uncle. So Ramaya won the case and her uncle recovered the annuity from Ramaya ने जीता नहीं केस, केस विनर बाय द, गलत लिखा है, चिनाया won the case and uncle recovered the annuity. तो रमाया को केस पे कुछ नहीं, रमाया लूज किया केस को एंड अंकल ने एन्युटी रिकवर की. दोबारा सुन लीजिए. ओल्ड लेडी, आई एम रिपीटिंग द होल केस, एक सेकंड बच्चों. एक मिनट के लिए पॉज लूंगा बच्चों में. Okay, I am repeating the whole case. An old lady transferred all her property to her daughter with the condition that the daughter will transfer an annual amount to his uncle. The daughter entered into the contract with the uncle the same day for payment of this amount, annual amount. But at the time of making the payment, the daughter denied for payment by saying that he the she has to make the payment to the uncle, but she's not getting in return anything. So the contract is without consideration and hence void. The court was decided in this case the consideration is not required, that it should be directly from the party. If you are getting consideration from any other person, it is sufficient. The court said the daughter is getting consideration in the form of transfer of property from the mother. So this is the perfect consideration. This is the valid consideration, and uncle has a right to receive the annual amount. Okay, so please read this example carefully. Next rule, next rule that consideration may be executed, consideration may be executed or may be executory. Consideration may be executed, may be executory. May be executed means it present consideration, consideration at the time of contract. Consideration at the time of contract. Executory, executory means future consideration. Future consideration. If consideration is paid at the time of contract, it is present consideration. If consideration would be paid after the contract, it is called future consideration. Let's an example. A pays rupees 5,000 to B and B promises to deliver to him a certain quantity of wheat within a month. A has making the payment at the time of contract to B, and B promises that he will supply a certain quantity of wheat after a month. So the consideration paid by A is the present consideration, and the promise by B is the future consideration, because the B will provide the quantity of wheat after a. तो A ने जो कंसिडरेशन दिया वो क्या था, प्रेजेंट, और जो बी ने प्रॉमिस किया कि फ्यूचर में 1 महीने बाद वो वीट देगा, इट इज फ्यूचर कंसिडरेशन. A pays rupees 5,000 to B and B promises to deliver to him a certain quantity of wheat within a month. In this case, A pays the amount whereas B merely makes the promise. So consideration paid by A is the present consideration and consideration promised by B is the executory consideration. Right? पढ़िए बच्चों इसको. सर इट्स लाइक कोलेटरल एग्रीमेंट. नहीं सर, कोलेटरल नहीं है, डायरेक्ट एग्रीमेंट है. कोलेटरल नहीं है. दिस इज नॉट ए कोलेटरल एग्रीमेंट. दिस इज अ क्लियर एग्रीमेंट. Next point, consideration may be passed. It means in the previous examples, let's see the example number 7. In the if this example, let's say contract date is today is 3rd June. Payment was done on 3rd June. This is the present consideration. supply of wheat was on after 1 month, let's say 3rd July, it is the future consideration. It means the consideration paid at the time of contract is present. Consideration will be paid after the contract date is future consideration. But if consideration is received before the date of contract, if consideration is received before the date of contract is called past consideration. Sir, how is possible? Sir, how is possible that consideration may be before the date of contract? Let's say, suppose a student, Sandeep. Sandeep comes to me on 3rd June 2026 by let's say 3rd January. 3rd January has come to me and he said, "Sir, I want to take your guidance on some topics in the law, but I will not make the payment of fees. I don't have the fees." संदीप मेरे पास आते हैं 3 जनवरी को कि सर मुझे कुछ आपसे चीजें आपको डिस्कस करनी है, मुझे कुछ चीजें आपसे डिस्कस करनी है, कुछ चीजें मुझे आपसे डिस्कस करनी है, इस पर गाइडेंस चाहिए आपका मुझे, बट आई विल नॉट मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ फीस. I will not make the payment of fees. Now what actually happened? I told him, okay sir, I will take your I will give my guidance on this topic, and on 3rd January I have given the guidance for law particular. After 3 months, let's suppose after 3 months on 1st March, संदीप टोल्ड मी, सर आपने मुझे पढ़ाया था 3 जनवरी को, उस समय मेरे पास पैसे नहीं थे, अब मैं आपको पेमेंट कर रहा हूं, मैं पेमेंट कर रहा हूं उसके लिए जो आपने मुझे पढ़ाया था, जो आपने मुझे पढ़ाया था. डेट ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट 1 मार्च 2026. प्रॉमिस टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ फीस, बट Mr. Sandeep has already taken my service 3 months before. So consideration has already moved before the date of contract. It is called past consideration. Consideration before the date of contract. A teaches B at this desire. After a week, B promises to pay fee of ₹2,000. A can sue B for recovering the wrong. A ने B को पढ़ाया उसकी इच्छा पर, एक हफ्ते बाद पेमेंट फीस की गई, वो रिकवर कर सकता है, बिकॉज टीचिंग वॉज द पास्ट कंसिडरेशन ऑन द डेट ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट एक तीसरा कर देते हैं. Adequacy of consideration. Law says there must be a consideration, but it need not be adequate. It need not be the equal value. Something in return need not necessarily be equal in the value to something given. जरूरी नहीं है जितने का आप सामान दे रहे हैं उतने की ही वैल्यू. A agrees voluntarily to sell his motorcycle for ₹2,000 to B. It is a valid contract despite the inadequacy of consideration. A अपनी मर्जी से अपनी मोटरसाइकिल 2,000 में बेच रहा है, ये सफिशिएंट कंसिडरेशन, ये कंसिडरेशन भले ही कम हो तब भी लॉ की नजरों में कोई दिक्कत नहीं. See example number 10. X promises to sell a house worth ₹6 lakh for only ₹1 lakh only. X अपना घर जो 6 लाख का वो अगर 1 लाख में बेच रहा है, कोई प्रेशर नहीं है, कोई टेंशन नहीं है, फिर भी बेच रहा है, अपनी मर्जी से बेच रहा है, तो इवन द एडुकेसी ऑफ प्राइस इटसेल्फ शैल नॉट रेंडर द ट्रांजैक्शन वॉइड अनलेस द पार्टी प्लीड्स. जब तक अगर पार्टी ये कहती है दैट ट्रांजैक्शन टेक प्लेस अंडर कोर्शन, मुझे डरा के धमका के ये डिसाइड किया गया है, तो ये मैटर बनता है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वैलिड नहीं होगा. अगर कोई अपनी मर्जी से ट्रांसफर कर रहा है देन दिस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज परफेक्टली वैलिड. प्लीज रीड दिस एग्जांपल नंबर 9 and 10 once again. पढ़िए बच्चों इसको। कंसीडरेशन नीड नॉट बी का मतलब होता है कि ये जरूरी नहीं है कि अगर आप 100 रुपए की चीज बेच रहे हो तो 100 ही बदले में मिले, कम में बेचो तब भी वैलिड है, राइट। पास्ट कंसीडरेशन इज नॉट एग्जीक्यूटेड कंसीडरेशन। एग्जीक्यूटेड मतलब प्रेजेंट कंसीडरेशन। परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ व्हाट वन इज लीगली बाउंड टू परफॉर्म, यानी कि अगर किसी चीज के लिए आप ऑलरेडी बाउंड हैं तो वो कंसीडरेशन, उसके लिए दोबारा कंसीडरेशन नहीं दिया जाएगा। कंसीडरेशन मस्ट नॉट बी ऑफ द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ एग्जिस्टिंग ड्यूटीज। कंसीडरेशन मस्ट नॉट बी परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ existing duties. The performance of an act by a person who is legally bound to perform the same cannot be considered for a contract. अगर आप किसी चीज के लिए ऑलरेडी बाउंड है, अगर आप किसी चीज के लिए सॉरी ऑलरेडी बाउंड है तो उसके लिए दोबारा कंसिडरेशन क्लेम नहीं कर सकते। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अब बैंक ऑफिसर अब चार्जेज एडिशनल फीस, a bank officer charges additional fees for entry in the passbook, so it cannot be claimed because he has it is his duty to make the entries in the passbook. अगर कोई बैंक ऑफिसर कहता था पासबुक में एंट्री करने के पैसा एक्स्ट्रा लूंगा, तो ये वो क्लेम नहीं कर सकता, कंसेशन नहीं माना जाएगा, क्योंकि उसकी ड्यूटी है, उसके लिए सैलरी मिल रही है, ऑलरेडी उसको सैलरी मिल रही है। ए प्रॉमिस टू पे ₹1,000 टू डॉक्टर ओवर द फीस इज इनवैलिड as it is the duty of doctor to give the treatment at the normal fee. अगर कोई पेशेंट डॉक्टर के पास जाता है एंड डॉक्टर कहता है कि सर मुझे 1,000 रुपए एक्स्ट्रा चाहिए, तो वो क्लेम नहीं कर सकता, क्योंकि उसकी ड्यूटी है नॉर्मल फीस में पेशेंट को हैंडल करनी, राइट। सर इफ वी आस्क द बाई टू बाइक इन 1,000 2,000 क्या फर्क पड़ता है, सेम थिंग। इफ परफॉर्मेंस बाउंड बाय सर्टेन ड्यूटीज, डिस्कस ना, अगर आपकी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, अगर आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं किसी से बट उस काम के लिए ही इज ऑलरेडी बाउंड, ही कैन नॉट क्लेम एनी एडिशनल कंसिडरेशन। कंसिडरेशन मस्ट बी रियल एंड कॉम्पिटेंट, मस्ट बी रियल एंड कॉम्पिटेंट। It must be something to which law attaches some values. It cannot be illusory, it cannot be imaginary. A man promises to discover treasure by magic. सर मैं आपको प्रॉमिस करता हूं मैं जादू से खजाना ढूंढ दूंगा, उसके लिए मैं आपसे पैसे लूंगा। दिस इज नॉट पॉसिबल, जादू नाम की कोई चीज नहीं। One more example, I have also discussed this example in the previous class. A agrees with B to put the life in his dead wife. A ने B से प्रॉमिस किया कि मैं आपकी वाइफ में अंदर जान डाल दूंगा, उसके लिए मैं पैसे लूंगा। So this is cannot be possible because putting the life in dead body is totally impossible. Clear? Read example 12 and 13. Consideration must not be unlawful, immoral, or opposed to public policy. Unlawful means against law. Immoral means bad character contract. Opposed to public policy means should not be against the public. See example 14. A asks B, I will give you ₹1 lakh if you kill C. A ने B से कहा अगर आप C को मार दोगे तो मैं 1 लाख रुपए दूंगा। This is illegal contract and this is not a valid consideration. See example 15. A asks B, I will give you a bottle of wine if you do work for me as a bribe. अगर आप किसी को शराब रिश्वत में दे रहे हो, ऑफर कर रहे हो, रिश्वत ही खराब चीज है कि मेरा काम कर दूं मैं आपको 1 बॉटल वाइन दूंगा। दिस इज द इमोरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, इमोरल कंसिडरेशन। A asks B, I will purchase your car for something uncertain. कोई decide नहीं किया amount. Amount is not decided for something. This is not a valid consideration as the consideration is uncertain. Please read the example 14, 15, 16. Now the time for today's first match of LPL. Ready? Start करें. Okay. First point, consideration in a contract means a moral obligation, something done voluntarily, something in return for a promise or written agreement. According to Section 2, Clause D of the Indian Contract Act, consideration must be done voluntarily in writing at the desire of promisor by the promisor. Consideration may consist of only an act, only abstinence, only promise, act, abstinence or promise. Consideration is essential for void agreement, social agreement, valid contract, illegal contract. Where an act forming consideration is the performance of existing obligations between the parties, it is regarded that there is no consideration, inadequate consideration, past consideration, none of these. An agreement made with consideration, made with the free consent of which the lawful consideration is inadequate, is void, valid, voidable, unlawful. चलिए चेक करते हैं. Consideration in a contract means something in return for a promise. According to Section 2, Clause D of Indian Contract Act, consideration must be done voluntarily in writing at the desire of promisor by the promisor. It is at the desire of promisor. Consideration may consist of act, abstinence or promise. Consideration is essential for valid contract. When an act forming consideration is the performance of existing obligations between the parties, it is regarded as there is no consideration. An agreement made with the free consent to which the lawful consideration is inadequate is valid. So let's see. Dakshta, Aisha, Priyanka, Padma. Fifth MCQ. अभी आई डिस्कस द एग्जिस्टिंग ऑब्लिगेशन के लिए कोई अलग से कंसिडरेशन नहीं हो सकता. आई हैव टेकन द एग्जांपल ऑफ बैंक ऑफिसर. If he demands any money or consideration for making the entries in passbook, there is no consideration. Not possible. Right? Clear, Supriyo? Sandeep, clear, beta? Lawful consideration lawful होना चाहिए. Consideration must be lawful. Consideration must be lawful, but it need not be a same value. Clear? फ्री कंसेंट भाई बताया मैंने. कंसेशन लॉफुल होना चाहिए, सेम वैल्यू का हो जरूरी नहीं है, तब भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वैलिड होगा. नाउ द टाइम टू डिस्कस सूट बाय थर्ड पार्टी to a contract. In normal case, a stranger to contract cannot sue. In the normal case, a stranger to a contract, stranger means the party which is not the part of the contract, cannot sue. This is called doctrine of privity of contract. Doctrine means principle. प्रिंसिपल ऑफ प्रिविटी ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की प्रिवेसी का प्रिंसिपल है ये कि थर्ड पार्टी सूट फाइल नहीं कर सकती. सी द एग्जांपल नंबर 17. P has taken a loan from Q. P sells his property to R and R promises to pay off the debts amounts to Q. P has taken a loan from Q. P ने Q से लोन ले रखा था. P sells his property to R. P ने अपनी सारी प्रॉपर्टी R को बेच दी. एंड R प्रॉमिस, किसको प्रॉमिस किया? P को, कि मैं आपका लोन चुका दूंगा जो आपने Q से लिया हुआ है. I will repay the loan what you have taken from Q. If R does not pay the loan amount, Q has no right to sue against the R. He can claim only from the P. क्या एग्जाम्पल कहना चाह रहा है कि P ने Q से लोन लिया. P ने अपनी प्रॉपर्टी बेच दी R को और R से कहा भैया मेरा लोन चुका देना. R ने कहा मैं आपका लोन चुका दूंगा. अगर R वो लोन नहीं चुका पाता है तो Q क्लेम केवल किससे कर सकता है? क्लेम कर सकता है केवल और केवल P से. R से क्लेम नहीं कर सकता बिकॉज R इज द स्ट्रेंजर टू द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बिटवीन P एंड Q. जब P और Q का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ था तो R उसमें कहीं भी नहीं था. इस केस में Q अगर P does not, if there is R does not make the payment of the loan of P, Q can claim only from P, not from the R. Sir, then Q can sue P, yes. The rules regarding, but some exceptions are there. Some exceptions are there. Some exceptions means the cases where even a stranger, the cases where even a stranger can file the suit, can claim on the contract. There are some cases, this may be the important question for your exam, even for as a descriptive question, even as a direct question. The question may be asked in your exam like discuss the doctrine of privity of contract. It may be worth 6 marks. It may be also be possible that any single point is picked and our descriptive question is drafted. So you may find that type of question also. Even a stranger to contract may enforce a claim in the following cases. In case of trust, first of all, you should understand the concept, then come to the provisions. Suppose one Mr. X has transferred all his property to his friend by making a trust. ट्रस्ट बनाया उसने और सारी प्रॉपर्टी अपने दोस्त को ट्रांसफर कर दी फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ सन. X has made a trust and transferred all his property and making the Y his friend as a trustee. The person who is there for taking care of the trust is called trustee, and for whose benefit the trust is created is called beneficiary. जिसके जो केयर टेकर होता है ट्रस्ट का उसे बोलते हैं ट्रस्टी, और जिसके बेनिफिट के लिए बनाई जाती है उसे हम क्या बोलते हैं, बेनिफिशियरी. राइट. तो एक्स ने अपनी प्रॉपर्टी एक ट्रस्ट बना के ट्रांसफर कर दी, वाई को एक केयर टेकर बना दिया, और उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ कि वाई विल यूज द प्रॉपर्टी फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ सन. सन इज द बेनिफिशियरी. If suppose after the death of X, Y does not use the property for the benefit of son can file the claim upon Y. Even the son was not the party in the contract which was entered between X and Y. जब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ X और Y के बीच में तो सन उसमें पार्टी नहीं था, लेकिन सन बेनिफिशियरी है. सन बेनिफिशियरी है तो वो क्लेम कर सकता है अगर वाई उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के अगेंस्ट जाता है. इन केस ऑफ ट्रस्ट अ बेनिफिशियरी कैन एनफोर्स हिज राइट अंडर द ट्रस्ट दो ही वाज नॉट ए पार्टी टू द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बिटवीन द सेटलर एंड द ट्रस्टी. तो मिस्टर एक्स इज सेटलर एंड ट्रस्टी इज मिस्टर वाई. सी द एग्जांपल. Mr. X transfer his property to his friend in trust in favor of his son. On the death of Mr. X, friend refuses to give the benefit to son. Now son can claim from the X even if he was not a party to the contract. सर अगर सन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में रिलेटेड होता तो कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं थी. हम तो जब की बात कर रहे हैं जब वो थर्ड पर्सन पार्टी ही नहीं है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में. So these are the exceptions. These are the following specific points where the third party who is not the part of the contract, even he can claim on the contract. पढ़िए इसको एक बार बच्चों. पढ़िए इसको. Now at this place we are having a break of 5 minutes. After 5 minutes we will join. Right? एक बार इसको पढ़ लीजिए, जब तक इसको पढ़िए. वेलकम बैक। सर बेनिफिशियरी ट्रस्ट को एनफोर्स कैसे कर सकता है? बाय एप्लीकेशन द कोर्ट। सर व्हाट इफ एक्स हैज some health disease and he dies before the son even turns 18? Can his son still sue? Why? Even as a minor. One thing you should note, that minor has all rights, but liability there he has no liability. Minor के पास rights आ रहे हैं, liability कुछ नहीं होती है. So we are discussing the stranger doctrine of privity of contract. Normal rule says a stranger cannot file a suit. In normal case, stranger cannot file the suit in the contract, but there are some specific cases, they are called exceptions, in which a person, even a third party, he is not part of the contract, can file the suit. On this category, we have just discussed one first part, that is in case of trust. In case of trust, a beneficiary can file the case against the trustee for his benefit. Even the beneficiary is not part of the contract, right? Next point, in case of family settlement, see the example. A father has transferred all his property to his two sons on the condition then that each of them will pay rupees 10,000 to their mother. Son refuses to pay, now mother can claim from them. क्या कहा उसने? फादर ने अपनी सारी प्रॉपर्टी अपने दो बेटों में बांट दी. फादर ट्रांसफर प्रॉपर्टी टू सन्स with the condition that each son will pay 10,000 to mother. Even the contract was entered between father and son, the mother can claim these 10,000 from the, this is the exception, this is the rule, कि अगर किसी के फैमिली सेटलमेंट है, किसी के फैमिली के बेनिफिट के लिए, मेंबर के बेनिफिट के लिए वो क्लेम कर सकता है, इवन वो पार्ट ना हो. इन द टर्म्स ऑफ द सेटलमेंट आर इन राइटिंग, द मेंबर्स ऑफ फैमिली हु ओरिजिनली हैड not been the parties to the settlement may enforce the agreement. अगर वो settle even the party नहीं थे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में, they can claim if they are part of the contract. अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में कहीं जिक्र है उनका बेनिफिट मिलना है, they can claim. So the case was, father has transferred all his property to his son on the condition that each of them will pay rupees 10,000 to their mother. Now if the son refuses to pay, mother can claim from them. प्लीज रीड कीजिए बच्चों इसको. रीड कीजिए. Next, in case of certain marriage contracts, a female member can enforce a provision for marriage expenses made on the partition of HUF. क्या कहता है लॉ? In case of certain marriage contract, normally for HUF, Hindu undivided family, if female is separated, a female in a Hindu undivided family, if the family separation is there, if family partition is there, the female member can claim the expenses which were incurred at time of marriage. कि भैया फीमेल मेंबर अपने सारे खर्चे क्लेम कर सकती है. अगर देखिए HUF क्या, हिंदू अनडिवाइड फैमिली, ये पर्टिकुलरली HUF के लिए, हिंदू अनडिवाइड फैमिली के लिए ही है कि अगर कोई फीमेल, अगर हिंदू अनडिवाइड फैमिली का पार्टीशन होता है तो जो फीमेल मेंबर है वो जो खर्चे हुए शादी टाइम पे जो गिफ्ट मिले वो सारे उनसे क्लेम कर सकते. इन केस ऑफ असाइनमेंट ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, असाइनमेंट मीन्स ट्रांसफर. In case of assignment of a contract, when the benefit under a contract has been assigned, the assignee can enforce the contract. If in the contract a benefit is assigned, so assignee can claim कि एक father has taken an insurance policy and he assigned the insurance policy in the name of his son. Now son can claim the benefit of the policy. Mr. A has assigned insurance policy to his son. The son can claim even if he was not a party to contract, because at the time of contract, two parties were there, father and the insurance company. But after that, father has signed his policy in the name of his son. Now son can claim the benefit of the insurance. प्लीज रीड कीजिए बच्चों, इनको दोनों पॉइंट रीड कीजिए. Next point, in case of an estoppel by acknowledgement of liability or part performance thereof, that is when one admits the liability. In case of an estoppel by acknowledgement of liability, liability अगर आपने एक्सेप्ट कर ली तो फिर आप उसको डिनाई नहीं कर सकते. सीधा एग्जांपल, once the liability is admitted, that cannot be denied afterwards. L gives to M rupees 2000 to be given to N, and M informs N that he is holding the money for him. But afterwards, M refuses to pay the money and will be entitled to recover the same from the borrower. What is the case? L gives money to M. How much amount? 2000 rupees. किसको देना है? To be given to N. M, after receiving the money, informed N. M, after receiving the money, informed N that I am holding the money on behalf of you. Afterwards, M refuses to pay the money. Once M admitted the liability, he cannot deny. Original contract was between L and M. L and M, but M admitted the liability against the N. Now, even the N was not a party between the contract between L and M. Even that, he can claim the compensation. He can claim the money from M. L और L ने M को 2000 रुपए दिए, किसको देने के लिए? N को देने के लिए कि भैया इसको दे देना. M ने इन्फॉर्म कर, पैसे मिल गए, N को इन्फॉर्म करा भैया पैसे आ गए, मेरे पास तुम्हारे पास पैसे रखे, मुझसे ले लेना. अगर बाद में M ने मना किया, भले ही N कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का पार्ट नहीं था, कौन सा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट? बिटवीन L एंड M. Even that case, he can claim the amount from M. Contract made by the agent. Actually, agent is the person who work on behalf of the principal. Principal authorize agent to work on his behalf. Suppose Mr. P, the principal, has appointed A, the agent, to contract with Mr. T on behalf of P. Mr. P appointed Mr. A, the agent, to enter into contract with T on behalf of the principal. A has given the advance for purchasing something on the behalf of P. Now that goods can be claimed even by the agent or even by the principal. P ने अपॉइंट किया A को एजेंट कि भैया T से डीलिंग कर लो. T से डील हुई, A ने एडवांस दे दिया, T ने अभी गुड्स नहीं दिया है, तो T से गुड्स A भी ले सकता है क्योंकि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ था A का T के बीच में. प्रिंसिपल भले ही कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का पार्ट नहीं था A और T के, लेकिन क्योंकि वो प्रिंसिपल था, A जो था उसके P के बिहाफ पे काम कर रहा था, he can claim the amount from T. So principal can enforce the contract entered by his agent where agent has acted within the scope of authority and in the name of principal. See the example. P appoints A as his agent to sell his house. A sells house to T. Now P has right to recover the price from P ने अपॉइंट किया A को एज एजेंट टू सेल हिज हाउस. A ने सेल कर दिया T को. Now P has right. Agent can all recover because the agent is a part of the contract. But P can also recover. P can also recover the price from T. Read कीजिए बच्चों point number 5 and 6. Next point. This is very important point. Many times question has been asked on this point. Covenants running with the land. Covenants running with the land. See, there were two lands adjacent each other. Suppose land A and B adjacent में जुड़ी हुई. ठीक है. Mr. X is the owner. Mr. X is the owner. Both land are agriculture land. Agriculture land. X has sold part A land to Mr. Y. Part A of the land to Mr. Y. एक दो जमीनें हैं आपस जुड़ी हुई हैं. एक्स के पास है, एक्स ओनर है, हमने नाम रख दिया एक का ए, एक पार्ट का बी. दोनों एग्रीकल्चर लैंड है जहां पर खेती होती है, एग्रीकल्चर होती है. एक्स ने वाई को बेची ए. एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ वाई के साथ, एक रेस्ट्रिक्शन लगाई गई. देयर वाज रेस्ट्रिक्शन इन द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बिटवीन एक्स एंड वाई दैट दिस लैंड नेवर बी यूज्ड. दिस लैंड never be used for industrial purpose because that will be harmful for land B. A contract was entered between X and Y to sell the land A with the condition that this land never be used for industrial purpose because it will be harmful for land B. एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ, एक्स ने अपना लैंड ए का पार्ट बेचा वाई को और साथ में कहा कि भैया ये इसको आप कभी भी इंडस्ट्रियल पर्पस से यूज नहीं करोगे, क्योंकि अगर इंडस्ट्रियल यूज करोगे तो जो बी है, बी पार्ट है, वो उसको प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी, वो एग्रीकल्चर लैंड. दिस रेस्ट्रिक्शन विल बी एप्लीकेबल नॉट ओनली ऑन वाई बट फर्दर बायर who will receive the land from A also. It means suppose Y sells this land to Mr. Z. Y sells this land to Mr. Z. The restriction will also be binding on Z. It means Z can also not use the land as agricultural land. Even the contract condition was in the contract which was entered between X and Y. Z is also bound by this condition. Contract originally X और Y के बीच में हुआ था, लेकिन लैंड पे रेस्ट्रिक्शन लगी है तो वो जितने फर्दर ऑक्यूपायर है उन सब पे एप्लीकेबल हो जाएगी. यानी Z has also has to follow the condition which were entered in the contract between X and Y. See the case. Then I will discuss the provisions. One owner of the land having two lands adjacent to each other. One was agricultural land. He sold the other land containing condition that it can never be used for industrial purpose so as to protect the other agricultural land from pollution. Such condition is attached with the land so whosoever is the successor of the land, बाद में जो भी ऑक्यूपायर आएंगे, has to abide by it. सारे फॉलो करने पड़ेंगे. Such are called restrictive covenants and all successor are binding. जितने भी लोग आएंगे बाद में सक्सेसर आएंगे उन सबको ये प्रोविजन फॉलो करने पड़ेंगे. The person who purchases land with notice that the owner of land is bound by certain duties affecting land, the covenants means restrictions. Covenants affecting the land may be enforced by the successor of the seller. अगर कोई रेस्ट्रिक्शन लगी है लैंड के साथ तो जितने भी लोग बाद में आएंगे सबको फॉलो करनी पड़ेगी. प्लीज रीड दिस एग्जाम्पल नंबर 23 क्लियरली. बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ो क्योंकि इस पे कई बार क्वेश्चन आ चुका है बच्चों. प्लीज रीड. क्लियर हुआ एग्जाम्पल 23? बताइए कोई डाउट इसमें? Any doubt in example number 23? Now we are discussing one more important topic, validity of an agreement without consideration. Section 25 of Indian Contract Act provides that any agreement or contract without consideration is void. In normal case, Section 25 provides any agreement without consideration is void. But there are some exceptions, some specific situations where the contract, even without consideration, is perfectly valid. So I will going to discuss those conditions in which contract, even without consideration, is void. Else contract without consideration is. कि मैं जो डिस्कस करने जा रहा हूं इन वो केसेस हैं जहां पर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इवन विदाउट कंसिडरेशन परफेक्टली वैलिड है. इनके अलावा जो भी सिचुएशन होगी उनमें अगर कंसिडरेशन नहीं है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वॉइड होगा. वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस द सिचुएशन, द कंडीशन वेयर द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इवन विदाउट कंसिडरेशन परफेक्टली वैलिड, else it will be void. However, in the following cases, the agreement, though made without consideration, will be valid and enforceable. First and more important, natural love and affection. The law says a written and registered, please mark, a written and registered. Repeat 3 times, written and registered, written and registered, written and registered. Written and registered, written and registered, written and registered agreement based on account of natural love and affection between the parties standing in the near relation to each other is enforceable even without consideration. अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो रहा है जो रिटन में है और रजिस्टर्ड एज पर द लॉ ऑफ दैट लैंड, किस लिए हो रहा है? सपोज I want to give my flat to my sister without any consideration on account of natural love and affection. Without any consideration, it will be valid if it is written and also registered in the court. कोर्ट मतलब जहां पर रजिस्ट्रेशन होता है, जहां पर रिक्वायरमेंट रजिस्ट्रार, that will be even without consideration. See example 24. A husband by registered agreement promised to pay his earning to his wife, hence held the agreement though without consideration was valid if this agreement is written and registered. ध्यान से नोट कर लो, दोनों चीजें रिटन एंड रजिस्टर्ड दोनों चीजें होनी चाहिए, अदरवाइज कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वैलिड नहीं हो. कंसिडरेशन फॉर पास्ट वॉलेंटरी सर्विस, पास्ट कंसिडरेशन. इन द प्रीवियस स्लाइड्स हमने पढ़ा था कि एक एग्जाम्पल लिया था टीचर और स्टूडेंट का, in which what actually happened, the student has taken the services of teacher before the date of contract. याद है किसी को? मैंने जो एग्जांपल दिया था, मैंने संदीप को ऐड किया था कि आई एम द टीचर, संदीप इज द स्टूडेंट. On which date teaching guidance was given? Anybody? किसी को याद है कौन सी डेट बताई थी मैंने आपको? Which date the teacher has provided the services? The date was 3rd January. And services, student entered contract on 1st April. Very good. So law says कि at the time of contract there was no consideration. So this example, at the time of contract, student is not getting any consideration, but he is going to make the payment. This contract, अगर हम देखें, this contract is even without consideration because the consideration was already received in previously. So this is the valid. So P finds R's purse and gives it to him. R promised to give P rupees 1000. This is valid contract. बाद में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया पेमेंट करने का वैलिड होगा अगर उसने किया है. A promise to pay for past voluntary services are be binding. The following essential factor must be in existence. The service should have been rendered voluntarily. अपनी मर्जी से. Services must have been rendered for the promiser. जो पेमेंट करा उसी के लिए सर्विस दी गई हो. Promiser must be in existence at the time when the service was rendered. The promiser must have been intended to compensate the. One more example. Mr. X had helped his nephew, Mr. Y, to fight a case in court of law using his knowledge and intellect. After Y won the case, he promised Mr. X to pay rupees 10,000. Hence, this is valid contract as it is compensation to past service. क्या है? X ने अपने नेफ्यू Y को हेल्प की केस में. केस जीतने के बाद Y ने X को प्रॉमिस किया वो 10,000 रुपए देगा. दिस इज ए वैलिड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इवन विदाउट कंसिडरेशन. प्रॉमिस टू पे टाइम बार डेट. टाइम बार डेट याद है? टाइम बार 3 years have passed. The contract becomes time bar. Suppose a contract was entered between X and Y by which X has to make the payment to Y, suppose 1,000 rupees. And 3 years have been passed, the contract becomes time barred. After that, Y cannot claim that amount from Mr. X. Suppose after 5 years, the mind of Y has changed and Y promised Mr. X for making the payment of time bar debt. It will be valid even without consideration, but if in writing. X ने Y को सपोज पेमेंट करना था कोई 2,000 रुपए का. 3 साल निकल गए, Y ने मांगा नहीं, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट टाइम बार्ड हो गया. Y क्लेम नहीं कर सकता. 5 साल बाद X का मन चेंज होने का, ठीक है सर मैं दे दूंगा पैसे. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वैलिड होगा अगर वो रिटन में होगा. A promise in writing signed by the person making it or by his authorized agent is made to pay a debt barred by limitation. It is valid without consideration. 27 example C. A is indebted to C for rupees 6,000, but the debt B is barred by limitation act. A signs a written promise now to pay rupees 5,000 in final settlement of the debt. This is a contract without consideration, but enforced. Agency. Please note, a contract of agency means a principal can appoint the agent an agent has to follow the instruction of principal. This agreement may be without consideration. If it is decided between the principal and agent, that agent will work for principal, but he will not charge any consideration. This will be a valid contract. Section 185 provides. अगर प्रिंसिपल और एजेंट में तय हो गया है कि भैया ये काम मुझसे कुछ पैसे नहीं लेगा, काम तो करेगा मेरे बिहाफ पर एजेंट, पर पैसे नहीं लेगा, फिर भी ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वैलिड माना जाएगा इवन विदाउट कंसिडरेशन. राइट? सपोज it is not decided in the contract, it was not mentioned in the contract that agent will work free of cost. अगर मान लीजिए ये डिसाइड नहीं हुआ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में कि एजेंट फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट काम करेगा और कंसिडरेशन भी डिसाइड नहीं है, एंड कंसिडरेशन इज ऑल्सो नॉट डिसाइडेड, then agent can claim the reasonable consideration. क्या कहा मैंने आपसे? अगर ये तय हो गया प्रिंसिपल और एजेंट के बीच में, क्या तय हो गया कि एजेंट काम करेगा प्रिंसिपल के बिहाफ पर मगर कोई कंसिडरेशन चार्ज नहीं करेगा, कुछ पैसे नहीं लेगा, फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट करेगा, वैलिड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. लेकिन ना तो कंसिडरेशन तय हुआ, ना ये लिखा गया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में कि एजेंट कुछ भी चार्ज नहीं करेगा. उस केस में एजेंट एक रीजनेबल कंसिडरेशन चार्ज कर सकता है. सेक्शन 185 जब हम यूनिट 9 पढ़ेंगे, देन वी विल डिस्कस इन डिटेल. कंप्लीटेड गिफ्ट मींस गिफ्ट दिया, उसने रिसीव कर लिया. मिस्टर ए हैज गिफ्टेड ए कार टू हिज फ्रेंड ऑन हिज मैरिज. नाउ मिस्टर ए कैन नॉट टेक बैक हिज कार इवन इफ देयर वाज नो कंसिडरेशन. अगर उन्होंने गिफ्ट किया, उसने कार गिफ्ट कर दी, तो उसे वापस नहीं मांग. Charity, again important point. Mostly the question, when the question is asked from this unit, about, I can say for example, out of 5 times the question is asked from this unit number 2, 2 times was asked on this topic, charity. If a promisee undertakes the liability on the promise of the person to contribute to charity, there is a valid contract. Suppose Mr. A promised the secretary of the committee of temple to donate 1 lakh rupees for renovation of temple. On the faith of his promise, secretary has incurred some cost for renovation. Now secretary can claim from Mr. A even the contract was without consideration. क्या हुआ? एक ए ने प्रॉमिस किया मंदिर के सचिव को कि भैया आप रिनोवेशन कराओ मंदिर का, मैं 1 लाख रुपए डोनेशन कर दूंगा. उसके इस विश्वास पर सेक्रेटरी ने पैसे खर्च करने शुरू कर दिए, काम शुरू करा दिया. बाद में ए इस बात को डिनाई नहीं कर सकता, पेमेंट करने से मना नहीं कर सकता. लेकिन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, he has promised for 1 lakh rupees and the secretary has incurred only 80,000. Then A is liable to only 80,000. Right? Bailment. Last topic point of the unit number 2. Bailment. Listen my words. Bailment means to give something to someone, for a specific purpose or for a specific time period, with the condition that something will be returned to the original owner after the accomplishment of purpose or after the expiry of period. This is called bailment. Unit 8 is connected to the bailment. We will discuss in detail, but शॉर्ट में समझ लीजिए बेलमेंट मतलब क्या है? कोई चीज किसी को देना किसी पर्पस के लिए या किसी टाइम पीरियड के लिए, इस कंडीशन के साथ कि पर्पस पूरा होने के बाद या टाइम पीरियड पूरा होने के बाद वो चीज आपको वापस कर दी जाएगी. जैसे आपने अपने फ्रेंड को बुक दी पढ़ने के लिए, पढ़ के वापस कर देगा. अगर वो वापस नहीं कर रहा, केवल आपने परमानेंट दे दी, इट इज द गिफ्ट. You have given the book to your friend for study purpose, and after the purpose he will return the book. It is a bailment. He will not return the book. It is a gift. But if he will return the book, it is a bailment. Suppose you have given the watch to the repairman for the purpose of repair, and after the repair of the watch, he will return it to you. This is the bailment. And I have taken two examples. One, giving the book to the friend for study purpose, and one is giving the watch to the repairman for repair purpose. First example is without consideration, and second example is with consideration. So bailment may be with consideration, may be without consideration. Both are perfectly valid. Both are perfectly valid. So law says the bailment, even without consideration, is perfectly valid. No consideration is required to affect the contract of bailment. Section 148 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 defines bailment. A bailment is the delivery of goods by one person to another for some purpose upon a contract that they shall, when the purpose is accomplished, be written or otherwise disposed according to the directions of the person delivering them. The example, lending of a book to a friend for his use without any charge. पढ़िए बच्चा एक बार इसको. Now time for second match of LPL. स्टार्ट करते हैं बच्चों. The general rule under section 25 of Indian Contract Act is all agreements are valid, no consideration, no contract, written contracts are always valid, moral obligation is sufficient. Second question. A promise to pay for past voluntary services is valid only if the services were rendered under coercion for a third party, voluntary for the promiser for social obligations. Bailment does not require consideration because it is moral obligation. It is covered under section 148. It is void agreement. It is social contract. Which of the following statements regarding completed gift is correct? Gift require consideration. Gifts are void without consideration. Completed gifts are valid without consideration. Gifts are valid only if registered. Which of the following requires no consideration to be valid? Sale of goods, lease agreement, contract of agency, contract of guarantee. A person who is not the party to the contract but in whose favor some trust or charge under some specific property is created can sue, cannot sue, can sue without court permission, can sue with permission of other parties. The general rule under Section 25 of the Indian Contract Act: no consideration, no contract. A promise to pay for past voluntary service is valid if services were rendered voluntary for the promiser. Bailment does not require consideration because it is covered under Section 148. Which of the following statements regarding completed gifts are correct? Complete gifts are valid without consideration. Which of the following requires no consideration to be valid? Contract of agency. A person who is not the party to the contract but in whose favor some trust or charge under some specific property is created can. चलिए देखते हैं. मिस्टर राज केतन, प्रगति हांडा, हर्ष ठाकुर, अक्षित गुप्ता. Okay, so this was the unit number 2, but we should have a fast track revision of what we have discussed today in today's class. After this, I will discuss some practical problems and way to present. Right? Start करते हैं. Consider, we have read consideration section 2 clause D when at the desire of promiser, the promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing something, such act or abstinence or promise is called a consideration for promise. Legal rules: move. Consideration must move at the desire of the promiser. Consideration may move from the promisee or any other person. Consideration may be past, present, or future. Consideration need not be adequate. Insufficient consideration is valid consideration. Consideration must be real and competent. Consideration must be something which the promiser is not already bound to do. Consideration must not be illegal, immoral, or opposed to public policy. Normal case, a rule is there, doctrine of privity of contract, which says a third party cannot file the suit. But there are some specific situations where even a third party can file the suit. In case of trust, a beneficiary can file the suit. In case of marriage settlement, a female member can claim the expenses. In case of acknowledgement of liability, the person is liable to make the payment. In case of assignment of contract, the assignee can claim. In case of contract of agency, principal can claim on the basis of contract which are entered by agent on his behalf. And in case of transfer of immutable property, restriction, covenants with the land, the covenant will be binding on all the successor if they connected with the land. Section 25 provides a contract without consideration is void, but the following 7 situations where contract even without consideration is perfectly valid. A written contract written registered agreement based on account of natural love and affection between near relatives. A promise to pay for the past voluntary service is binding. Promise to pay a time bar debt. No consideration is required for agency. Completed gifts are valid even without consideration. Section 148 provides the bailment may be without consideration, and the contract of charity even without consideration are perfectly valid. So please give 2 minutes on this slide. This will you will get the your all the topic revised. पढ़िए इसको बच्चों. Now we come to some questions for the point of view of presentation. Next 10 to 15 minutes, we will discuss the way of presentation and we will take some examples. Explain the following statements in the light of provisions of Indian Contract Act 1872. Agreement made out of love and affection are valid agreement. दूसरा पॉइंट क्वेश्चन था, promise to pay a time bar debt cannot be enforced. A or B of 3 marks each. C, in this question, this is a direct question. This is a direct question. And you have to answer only what was asked in the question. Nothing else. ऐसा नहीं है इधर की बातें लिखना नहीं. You have to answer only on the topic which is asked. So in A point, this connected with the topic agreement without consideration is valid. In the category when agreement made out of love and affection, what is important thing? It was written and registered. So you have to mention in a direct way. See, a written and registered agreement based out of natural love and affection between the parties standing in near relation like husband and wife to each other is enforceable even without consideration. The various conditions to be fulfilled as per section 25 subsection 1 of the Indian Contract Act, it must be made out of natural love and affection between the parties. It must be parties must stand in near relationship to each other. It must be in writing. It must be registered under the law. Hence, the agreement made out of love and affection without consideration shall be valid if the above conditions are fulfilled. Second question था, promise to pay time bar debt cannot be enforced. According to section 25, section 3 of the Indian Contract Act, where a promise in writing signed by the person making it or by his authorized agent is made to pay a debt barred by Limitation Act is valid without consideration. This statement was not correct. तो उतना अब सर ये तो बहुत छोटा सा आंसर हुआ. It's very small. So whether it is sufficient for 3 marks? Yes. You have to answer only that part which is asked. अब वो छोटा है बड़ा है इससे हमें कोई मतलब नहीं. आंसर छोटा भी हो सकता है, आंसर बड़ा, जितना सेक्शन में पूछा गया उतना ही हमें आंसर करना है. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमें बहुत सारा क्वांटिटी वहां पर देनी है कि भैया ये भी लिखो ये भी लिखो, नहीं, जितना क्वेश्चन पूछा है उतना। एक बार पढ़िए बच्चों ध्यान से, पढ़िए ध्यान से इसको। Now the next question is descriptive question. Whenever you have descriptive question, please read this question carefully, mark important points in the question. See, Shri Mahadev Charitable Trust decided to renovate an old community hall managed by the trust. For this purpose, the secretary of the trust discussed the estimated expenditure with the contractor. The contractor initially estimated the renovation cost at rupees 6 lakh. After receiving assurance from the several donors that they would contribute towards the renovation fund, the trust committee entered into an agreement with the contractor and approved the renovation plan. Later, as more donors joined the campaign, the renovation plan was expanded and modified. Consequently, the estimated cost increased from 6 lakh to rupees 8 lakh 50,000. The revised amount was approved by both the trust committee and the contractor. The renovation work was completed successfully and the contractor demanded the payment from the trust. However, some of the donors who had promised to contribute money failed to honor their promises. Therefore, Secretary of the Trust filed a suit against those donors for the recovery of the promised amount. The donor argued that their promise to contribute was without concession and therefore void under the Indian Contract Act. State with reason whether the trust committee will succeed in its claim. So first of all, you have to find what is the actual problem in the question. The actual problem is that the donor has denied to make the payment. Donor has denied to make the payment on the contention that the agreement was without any consideration, so contract is void. यही तो बात है मेरी. And what should be the answer? Now, while answering this type of question, you have to answer in three parts. 1, 2, 3. Third part is what is your answer. Second part, first part, why you are giving the answer. Why you are giving the answer. On which basis? Giving answer. And second part is what is the problem. In first part, you have to mention the law provisions. You have to mention the law provisions on which basis you are going to answer the problem. फर्स्ट पार्ट में आपको मेंशन करना है वो प्रोविजंस जिनके बेस पर आप आंसर दे रहे हैं. सेकेंड पार्ट में आपको मेंशन करना है, सेकेंड पार्ट यू हैव टू राइट द प्रॉब्लम इन वेरी शॉर्ट कि क्या एक्चुअल प्रॉब्लम थी जिसको आप आंसर कर रहे हैं. एंड इन थर्ड पार्ट you have to give actually the answer. On reading the question, it is very much clear that in case of charity, donor is liable to make the claim. So the answer is, question kya tha, whether the trustee committees will succeed in claim. The answer is yes. But on which basis? Section 25 exception. ठीक है. Now you have to mention the concerned law provisions. See the according to section 25 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. सर अगर वहां पर हमें सेक्शन याद नहीं आता है, सर सपोज we don't remember the section in the classroom, then mention like it is according to the Indian Contract Act 1872. Okay, sir, suppose we are not clear about the subsection. For example, like definition of consideration is asked. Definition of consideration is asked. The section is section 2 clause D. Sir, we have remembered the question section 2, but we are not clear about it is D or clause E. Ignore. Don't write the wrong section. Suppose in the definition of consideration, you mention section 2 clause E in place of section 2 clause D. It means you are showing the examiner you are unaware of two section. ना तो आपको D आता है ना E आता है, पता ही नहीं है आपको, तो इसलिए don't mention the wrong section. So in this example, while solving this question, you start according to the provisions of section 25 of Indian Contract Act 1872. सर हमें ये आदि समझ नहीं आया कि 25 है कि 26 है. Mention according to the provisions of Indian Contract Act 1872. सर ये समझ ही नहीं आ रहा कि ये इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट का क्वेश्चन है, कंपनी एक्ट का क्वेश्चन है. तो मेरी एडवाइस है भैया दोबारा पढ़ो, अभी तैयारी नहीं हुई है प्रॉपर, ढंग से पढ़ाई करो. राइट. So see the provisions, concerned law provisions according to section 25 of Indian Contract Act 1872. An agreement without consideration is void. However, certain exceptions to this rule, where a person makes a promise to contribute towards a charitable purpose and relying upon such promise, the promisee undertakes a liability, the agreement becomes enforceable even without consideration. This principle was recognized in the case of Kedarnath versus Gauri Mohammed. Facts of the case: Shri Mahadev Charitable Trust planned to renovation of the community hall, entered into contract with the contractor based on the promise made by the waste donor to contribute funds. Initially, the renovation cost was estimated to be 6 lakh, but due to the expansion of the project, the cost increased to 8,50,000. The trust committee approved the revised expenditure and the work was completed. Later, some donors failed to fulfill their promise and the trust filed a suit against them for recovery of the promised contribution. In this case, the trust committee undertook the liability and expanded the renovation work relying upon the promises made by the donor. Therefore, the promises are enforceable even though there was no direct consideration. Hence, the trust committee will succeed in its suit against the defaulting donor under the Indian Contract Act 1870. Please read कीजिए इसको बच्चों, पढ़िए ध्यान से. So whenever the descriptive question is asked, you have to answer in 3 parts. You may ignore the headings, but presentation should be the same. Sir, whether we can answer in our language, you can do, but meaning should be same, concept should be same. अर्थ का अनर्थ नहीं होना चाहिए. ठीक है, कोशिश कीजिए जो लॉ की लैंग्वेज उसी में आंसर करें. Two more examples I have added in the slides. Direct question, defined consideration, and one is stranger to consideration can sue but not a stranger contract. So you have to mention all the categories where the third party can file the suit. Right? So this was the unit number 2. Megha ma'am, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Please over to ma'am.
Sir, I think two students have raised their hand. If you allow,
Okay.
I will unmute them.
जी मैम प्लीज.
Harini, Harini, please unmute. Sneha, Jyoti, please unmute yourself. Yes, Jyoti. You can ask.
मैम गुड इवनिंग मैम.
Good evening.
मैम मेरे चैट बॉक्स में मैम आंसर या क्वेश्चन डिसेबल कर रखे हैं.
हाँ, due to some technical problem, we have disabled the chat. You can ask your query here.
नो मैम यही पूछ रही थी, जब सर क्वेश्चन दे रहे थे ना तो आंसर नहीं कर पा रही थी मैं उनका.
Okay,
इसलिए
okay.
यही पूछ.
Okay, okay. So due
Thank
to
you.
some technical problem, we have disabled the options today.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, please mute, Jyoti. Ayush. Yes, Ayush. Ayush, we are unable to hear you. Please be louder. Ayush. Sir, I think they are not.
Okay मैम.
Yes, so yes. Dear students, today we have discussed Unit 2 of the Indian Contract Act, Indian this consideration, and the question, sir, is displaying that a stranger to consideration can sue but not a stranger to contract, and explain with exceptions. This question has come in your May 2026 examinations of 6 marks. Okay, so you can understand the importance of Indian Contract Act. In the previous class, we have discussed that one question was there from the Unit 1, that is nature of contract, 7 marks. And another question of May 2026 examinations, this question, the exceptions to privity of contract by a stranger. So this question is also of 6 marks. So each and everything we are discussing in our live virtual class is important. You can see the question itself on the screen that we have discussed this question. So it's a request to see our regular live virtual class. Okay, and if due to some reason you are not able to see it live, you can see it the recorded lecture. Do all the questions covered in our slide, whatever questions, whatever examples, because many times a question has been framed on the examples covered in our notes, examples covered in the study material. So cover all the examples, be it your notes, be it your study material. Okay, then do the assignment part as well. Maybe some question is there which is covered in your assignment. Similar type of question can come in your examinations. Okay, so complete all the assignment by today itself. Complete this unit 2 from the study material. I am again reiterating that study material is a must. If some student will tell ki that ma'am or sir, whether these notes we are uploading on the BUS knowledge portal like LVC class are sufficient, no, these notes are not sufficient. These notes are only supplement with the study material. You have to read each line of the study material, because nowadays paper is framed in such a manner that no single question is from the study material or from the previous year suggested answers RTPs. All questions are new. If you will see the May 2026 examinations, or if any student has given the May 2026 examination, they will understand that all the questions covered in May 2026, or we can say in January also. Now all the questions are based, covered from the study material. Covered from the study material, that means the concepts are covered in the study material and questions are being made on single lines. So for clearing the business law paper, your concepts must be cleared. For that, you have to read the study material, and you have to revise the same. Okay, now by by August we will complete this LVC class, but simultaneously we have to revise from the study material. We have to do the practice portion of the questions. So we have covered chapter 1, unit 2 of the Indian Contract Act. So I am assuming that all the topics are covered from the study material, all the topics are covered from the Saransh, and you are also doing the practice of questions from RTP. You can select the questions from suggested answer, model test paper simultaneously, because once the live virtual classes are finished now, you will get very less time to practice all these papers. So it is the right time, and you are having around 3 months only. June, July, August for September, because the exams are starting in September only. So you are having very less time. So please focus in the live virtual class. There are some students who are not maintaining the decorum of the class. They are sending unnecessary chats. We have blocked the students, and we will not allow these students in our class. So if any of you student do some inappropriate behavior with faculties of the BOS or faculties of the live virtual class, it will not be tolerated, and you will be removed, you will be blocked from the BOS knowledge portal. Okay, so it's a request. You are here to attend the live virtual class to study. So please be polite and be humble, and only post relevant queries. Okay. Yes. So please, once the class is finished, please fill your feedback, because we are receiving so many feedbacks, and we are receiving some suggestions also, which we are improving in our live virtual class. So once the class is finished, please fill your feedback form also. Now on Friday, we will start our unit 3, that is essential elements of the contract, and it will continue till Sunday. So do not skip the class of Sunday and Friday, because we will finish another important part of the Indian Contract Act. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Technical team.